Hello, my beautiful friends. I hope you're having a gorgeous, gorgeous day. I want to chat with you today about two very important aspects of beautiful and lifelong, easy, delightful body care that you might not expect. So, due to whatever you want to blame it on. Some people call it past Puritan culture. Some people call it, strict upbringing. Some people call it American culture, whatever you want to consider it. There frequently is, and I find this around the world as I talk to people from many different countries and through traveling. This doesn't seem to be just something that is an issue in America, but a lot of people seem to believe that they can essentially flog themselves into better behavior. And whatever past experiences you may have had where maybe someone was trying to berate you into better performance or threaten or intimidate or whatever it may have been, or maybe you were doing that to yourself internally, I have found that that doesn't work. And if it does work, it doesn't work for very long, and it definitely isn't pleasant. So when I was completely, and with the intention of making it permanent and lasting, overhauling my relationship with my body years and years and years and years ago, I decided first that I wanted to enjoy myself. I decided that I wanted the process to not be painful. And honestly, at the time, it was just because I was so tired of that merry-go-round of kind of, you guys may be familiar with kind of the last hurrah if you're eating poorly, and then you're going to get on somebody's bandwagon and cut out all of these foods you like and work out way more than you want to. And, either tell yourself that you're amazing while you're doing that or telling yourself that you're terrible because you're not doing it well enough, whatever it may be. I was done with that cycle. And I decided, just purely out of fatigue, honestly, at that point, that I wanted to do it differently, that I was not available for that experience anymore. What I didn't realize at that time was that the new technique, if you want to call it that I was stepping into, that I was stumbling into almost, was actually really, really effective. So at the time, I just didn't want to feel that pain anymore, but I actually discovered something that also got me phenomenal results without making myself miserable. Sound good? Are you ready for this? So the first element or aspect of phenomenal, beautiful, lifelong body care that you're not expecting is hope. Hope. I know that might not sound like it has anything to do with body care, but I believe that hope is actually one of the first ingredients of any life change. And I'm not going to digress into all the other areas of life we could explain this in, but focusing in on our care of, and that includes our thoughts about our body, hope is essential. Now, I see this on two levels with our bodies, okay? One is, do we truly have hope? And hope comes from belief, right? That there really could be a better experience for us in our physical selves. Whether something external actually changes, whether our health actually improves, or whether we simply are more at peace, or my preference is all of the above, right? An improvement across the board is the ideal. But do we really believe we can do it? Do we really believe that it's possible for us, right? Because there's possible in general, then there's possible for them, possible for those people over there who we kind of see as some special breed, but possible for us is a whole nother level of internalizing belief and creating hope. Here's why that matters. If you don't deeply believe and therefore have hope that you can have a better experience in your body, why would you bother to make any changes, right? Why would we ever put forth effort when deep down we're thinking, this is not going to work, right? When we're thinking, I've done this before, I failed then, why am I trying now? I'm going to fail again, right? If we have any kind of negative thought cycle, and I'm not saying that it's not there to some extent. When we're beginning something new, a little self-doubt is normal, and there's nothing wrong with it. You don't need to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this right. It's not going to work. None of that. It's normal. But we do want to be able to rise above it and say, but I have this shred of belief that I can do this, that this time it's not only going to work, it's going to last. I'm going to crush this. This is going to be the new version of me that I've always wanted to live, and I'm never going back, right? So we have to have hope that really, for us, ourselves, individually, not, generally or hypothetically or in theory, but for us as an individual, no matter what's behind us, that there really is hope that we could have a better, even a wonderful experience living in our bodies in the future. Okay, we have something to believe in that we're striving for. That's why people get so excited about the next diet book or the next bikini boot camp workout series or the next, fitness inspiration image on the internet. Like, it all gives us a little rush of hope. Now, if you've had a lot of disappointments, you're going to see that and be like, whatever, man. I've been there, tried that, failed, doesn't work, not for me, etc., right? And then we maybe need to find something that does work better, or we just need to revisit the beliefs until we rebuild the slightest little shred of hope. But if we don't have hope, we won't begin. Now, that may be not tremendously surprising, but I also want you to see hope on another level, and it still pertains to our body care. And that is hope for a better life. One of the reasons I believe that many people don't bother to begin or to get up again and continue or try again a journey of better body care or to better body care is a feeling of, why should I bother? Here's my life, whether you live in a small town or a giant city where you feel totally unseen. Here's my family. They're all also overweight, or they're always complaining about their body, or they're always on some new diet, or they're always complaining about your body, right? Making comments about your body. Here's my friend group. We meet up for brunch. We drink too much. We eat too much. We don't work out together. We complain about our bodies. We complain about how men are so obsessed with the perfect, the whole thing, right? We're in a life already that hasn't charted a course that would encourage us to bother to pick up the journey, to pick up it can feel like a battle, but I don't believe it needs to be, but to go ahead and begin and chart this new path. Why should we bother, right? We've got our job, maybe we're already in a relationship, we've got our dog, we've got our apartment, we've got our house, we've got our girlfriends, we've got our network marketing business. No one is questioning what we already have. Why should we bother to be better? Why should we bother to improve when right here, right now is perfectly good enough? In fact, we're scolded to be more grateful, and we often struggle to understand that you can be grateful and create something better at the same time, right? So why? And to set a vision of not just enjoying your own body more, but being in a life that has truly improved, maybe in some even dramatic ways that perhaps you've just stopped dreaming about, right? Why should you bother to get in shape if you're also not going to bother to shoot for a high rank at your company and win the cruise trip where you're going to be able to buy 5 new bathing suits, right? and feel fantastic? Why bother? Why bother to take great care of your body if you and your husband haven't been together intimately in over 6 months and you sure don't feel like it anytime soon, right? Why bother? Why bother getting yourself fit and high energy and well rested if every other mom at the toddler mom group is overweight and complaining about her body and complaining about her energy and her lack of sleep and stuffing junk food in little baggies and bringing it to the playground, right? Like, why bother? If we don't have hope for a better, improved, exciting, meaningful, purpose-filled life, why bother be a better version of ourselves? So we have to have a deep-seated hope that it's worth it, that it's worth putting in this much effort, that it's worth striving for something more, that it's worth birthing a better version of ourselves or becoming the person we were always meant to be or remembering who we already are, however you want to phrase it. I think you guys know what I'm driving at. Why should we dare to dream again? And then include in that dream the kind of body that we've always wanted to be in, right? The best version of our body. I think that this lack of hope, which you can translate into boredom, defeat, overwhelm, despair, right? Whatever the opposite of hope would be, prevents many people who actually do have the time, the energy, the wisdom, the training, the resources, the community around them to engage in better body care practices to just not bother, right? And we're so often berated, and maybe we even, get on our own case with the idea of, oh, I'm lazy. And we call it laziness. I don't know many actually truly lazy people. But I do know many people who have lost their hope, who have lost their conviction that if they set out toward a goal and toward a dream, it's worth bothering to put in the effort, right? I've heard a saying that when you realize that something is possible, it unlocks the desire to actually go after it, right? And the opposite would be, if you feel that something isn't possible, you lack all desire to get up and bother to go after it, because why bother? It can't be done. There's no hope for me. I'm just going to fail again. My husband doesn't even care. He's checked out. No guys are asking me out. My kids love me as I am. All my girlfriends look the same. My family bonds by complaining. If I suddenly got in shape, then everybody would be on my case about who do I think I am? Am I so much better? Right? Whatever our reasons are, we go ahead and forfeit our hope. And then it's incredibly difficult to make positive changes based on I'm just going to call them silly, okay? Things like willpower and white knuckling it and kind of shooting yourself and finger shaking at yourself and getting upset at yourself. Hope is an incredible driving force for the human spirit, but you have to fight for it and you have to preserve it. You have to recognize it's what you need in the first place. So I encourage you guys, if you're feeling hopeless, either in your ability to have a better experience in your body, or in the possibility, the likelihood of creating a more beautiful life for yourself, for your family, for your future family, for your community, for your friends. Rebirth that hope long before you stroll over to the bookstore and start flipping through diet books and kind of put together an action plan, or you contact someone who's leading a, community weight loss workout group, whatever it may be. Get your hope back, because that is one of your greatest weapons. Now, that was a little intense, but we're going to switch now to the second aspect, which is, I promise, much, much, much more fun. And in my opinion, every single bit as important, okay? So again, when I was reshaping my entire relationship with my body, which I had been back and forth and up and down with for years and years, and I finally had enough, I didn't want that painful cycle anymore, and I decided as I began something that I hoped would last forever, I was unavailable for that kind of pain. I wanted to do it from a place of hope, and I wanted to do it from a place of ease and joy, which is not generally what you hear when someone decides they're going to take control and, get back on the wagon and get in shape and start eating right and get back to the gym or whatever it may be, right? Joy and ease are not generally words that they're using. They're going to get in the game and they're going to get tough and they're going to man up or they're going to woman up or they're going to whatever. And it's kind of like, you know what? You do that. I'll meet you at the cafe afterward. I'm over here sipping my latte, right? So I wanted joy and ease from this place of hope that I could create a better way that wasn't this flogging myself cycle of needing to be stricter, be tougher, be harder, and more self-controlled or whatever, that was just, one, miserable, and two, not working. So that led me to the second aspect, which again, I stumbled into, but was shocked by how effective it is, and that is, after hope, pleasure. Now, when I say this word, and I teach on some interesting things, my friends, okay? There are certain things that I teach on. When I say the words, people just like, I get to meet all of their preconceptions. I just said a word and oh my goodness, there are decades of baggage and family baggage and religious baggage. It's just like, well, nice to meet you. I'm pretty sure I just said one word, but pleasure can be one of those words. When I say pleasure in this context, I'm talking about you could call it a dopamine hit if you want, but anything that provides a respite during your day of joy, of beauty, of life, okay? So one of the first distinctions I want to make here, and then we're going to tie it back into body care, is that a lot of people stupidly, excuse me for my mini rant, but it's dumb in my opinion, okay? Very foolishly associate and even just it's such a disrespect to the word pleasure in my opinion, but they call pleasure things that are very life-sucking. You could call them death-giving even, okay? And I'm not going to go into them and list some of them, but anything that feels like a hit in the moment that ultimately deprives your body and your soul and your mind of well-being. All right, so I'm going to let you just figure out what that is for you or what you've seen in the world. When I talk about pleasure, it is life-giving beauty and joy sources, okay? So to me, one of my absolute greatest favorite pleasures is finding an aesthetically pleasing, preferably, but Starbucks will do if it needs to be, beautiful little coffee shop and finding a chair against the wall and having a tea or a latte or a matcha green tea latte and sitting there with, you know, a beautiful book or magazine or some fascinating blog on my phone or just people watching, listening to a podcast. It's one of the things that you'll notice is that there's a lot of senses going on, right? So there's the smell of the coffee shop, there's the sound of the music that they're playing or the podcast that's in my ears, there's the beautiful visual imagery from the book, from the magazine, from the blog that I'm on, whatever it may be, the people watching, there's kind of the mental stimulation of other human beings and what they might be saying here and there or wondering what their stories are and kind of just different imagery shifting in front of me. There's the taste, hopefully, I'm not usually sitting there sipping water, of something that is delightful and decadent, but not destructive, right? So I remember a very brief phase toward the end of college. I'd gained a lot of weight. I was not in mastery of my body or my emotions, which I think go together at that time. And I went through this brief period where I would drink Frappuccinos from Starbucks, right? I saw these other people doing it and they seemed to be, you know, fit enough. And I thought, I never let myself have one of those gigantic cookie crumb, you know, chocolate chip things that look amazing. And so for a brief period, I would order those and it kind of became a thing, right? Because once you have one, you're like, that was amazing. I'm going to do that again. And certainly it did not help with any kind of weight loss goals at the time. In fact, I was going in the opposite direction very efficiently. And I just remember feeling like crap after every single one, right? So you might tell me, wow, that's a decadent pleasure. And I would disagree because I felt terrible. Now, I am not one of these black and white people who says, okay, well, you can never have that again. You should never have one of those, never order one of those, never sip one of those, don't even think about it. No, in moderation, when it feels good, to the extent that it feels good, in the context that it creates life, but not to the extent of excess and almost drowning myself in what was supposed to feel good until it no longer did, right? So sitting in a cafe with just the right amount of a beverage that brings my body life is a pleasure. Drowning myself in, you know, a giant milkshake like that essentially, or a bag of very cheap cookies when I'm not even hungry, something that gives me what you would want to call a sensation of pleasure, but is actually life-sucking, life-taking, death-giving. I know, right? Really intense words here, but that's not pleasure, okay? So it sounds very confusing. Why would I say that when you're beginning a journey toward better body care, pleasure must be a part of it? Because most of us think, well, if I'm going to get back on track with my body care, pleasure's got to go, right? The cookies got to go, the brownies got to go, the sleeping in's got to go, whatever it is. And here's the thing. So many of us looking for that moment of solace, of respite, of dopamine hit, of joy during our day, what do we turn to? We turn to food. Certainly in Christian culture, it's one of the few things left that, you know, you won't get in trouble for doing is taking a snack break. And no one's probably going to comment if your snack is one donut plus the second one that you actually bought, but you don't want to have people see you eat, so you're eating it from the bag, kind of like while you're standing behind the wall. I'm not saying I've ever done that, you know, but I'm just saying, right? So we don't feel socially shamed for turning to food as an outlet. And indeed, there are memes, there's funny posts, there's all of these things making jokes at ourselves about how kind of food obsessed or we can't wait for, dessert, etc., right? We create an identity around what is actually a symptom of shame, of knowing that this is not true pleasure, that this is taking away from our lives in this timing, in this context, in this amount. I'm not saying I don't eat donuts, but I don't eat them in a way that takes away from my life. I eat them in a way, at a time, in an amount, in a context, at a hunger level, with my hunger hormones always managed, that gives joy without stealing life. Very big difference. And that's easier to do when you have filled the rest of your life with what I like to call pure pleasures. Just to clarify, because so many people have a connotation issue with the word pleasure. So these are things like sleeping really well. To me, that is deeply pleasurable when I get a great night of sleep and it's, I wake up feeling amazing. Maybe it's putting on a little makeup. We're going to be talking about the beauty wound this summer, but outside of any insecurities, something that actually brings you joy. Maybe it's getting your nails done. Maybe it's getting a massage. Maybe it's going for a walk around the block at lunch. Maybe it's just sitting outside on a beautiful day without feeling awkward because you're not talking to anyone and you're not on your phone and you're literally just watching. Watching the clouds in the sky, watching the birds in the trees, watching the breeze blow through them, watching the babies walk by with their parents, watching the dog, asking if you can pet it, right? Just savoring all of your senses without stuffing yourself with a sensation that has been misplaced as quote unquote pleasure, when in fact it's stealing your life and not giving to your life. When I decided I wanted to take phenomenal care of my body, enjoy being in my body, and have the results in the health and wellness of my body that I wanted all at the same time, injecting pure pleasures into almost every part of my day was one of my greatest tactics for success. And the first place I started was when I would find myself seeking solace in things that presented themselves as pleasures but weren't, right? So the 3 p.m. slump when you want some kind of hit of sugar or some super sugary coffee or whatever. Or the time before bed when even though you've had a good day, you're scrolling social media and suddenly everyone's life seems better than yours. And you've got the sundown effect of kind of feeling like crap and you've just had your biggest meal of the day. So your stomach is a little bigger than it normally is. And, there's a sense of defeat, right? Looking very carefully at those parts of the day that you're almost, honestly, I'm just thinking of this now, you're most vulnerable to hopelessness, right? You feel most strongly that, why bother? There's really no point. There's always tomorrow. I'll just try again. This isn't going to really make a difference. Who's going to know? And who cares, right? What do I really have to bother doing this for? In those moments where hope is lowest, and the desire for some kind of life-sucking, quote-unquote, fake pleasure is calling most, having pure pleasure rituals already injected into those parts of your day is essential. And it might take some pre-planning. It might take quite a bit of shifting your habits, even your schedule, your norms, right? If the people who are around you at work are used to you not leaving the office from 1 to 5 and, just hitting the vending machine like everybody else does at 3. And suddenly you're walking downstairs to the smoothie shop to get a smoothie or an acai bowl or some, vegan healthy cookie thing. I'm not vegan, but I do find vegan cookies have cleaner ingredients, and it's new. You might get some comments. Are you ready for that? Do you have that deep well of hope that's going to carry you through when you're making shifts and people who may be a little more used to, not necessarily bad intention, some of the comments may even be positive, but they're used to the behaviors of your less hopeful self. When you don't turn to pure pleasures, you turn to quick fixes. Are you ready for that? I want to encourage you, even if you don't feel ready, begin, right? Just try it. You can always go back to what you're already doing, right? It's not like this is some kind of lifelong commitment, and one of the best ways to step into a permanent body care shift is to not berate yourself, to have endless self-compassion, and to understand that a shift is just that, right? I like to think of your feet being together on the floor, your heels are together, and you're doing like the little shuffle, right? The little pivot. Your feet aren't even leaving the ground. A little turn this way, a little turn that way, a little turn this way. It's slow, and there's some back and forth. It's not going to be one giant ballerina leap from a total standing still position. It's going to be a little bit of a shuffle step, and you're going to be going back and forth. And that's okay. That's how most long-lasting things begin. So don't berate yourself if you do it once a week, then twice a week, then 3 or 4 times a week, and then it's just what you do. And then you start making them and you bring them from home so it's cheaper, or whatever works for you. But I want you to figure out, how can you inject pure pleasures into every part of your day, beginning with the parts where your hope is the lowest. And your negative norms, you could call them negative norms, are the most common, right? And I also want you to think in the space of all 5 of your senses. So if you're trying to improve what you're eating, obviously it makes sense to change what you're eating. But I don't want you to, again, get into that mentality of, well, I need to be bringing celery sticks and chicken breast and, those little spirulina chewy tablets and this green juice that I absolutely cannot stand, but everybody tells me I should be having. What could you do instead that's pleasurable? That's why I love the example of a latte, right? Coffee, milk. Lots of people might get on my case. Oh my gosh, dairy. Oh my gosh, coffee. Hey, pick what works for you. I don't put sugar in mine because the milk is kind of got all that lactose naturally in it anyway. Something that gives you an experience of pleasure without taking away life. So you're not replacing a quick fix with something hardcore that makes you miserable. You're replacing it with something that's a little better, but still deeply pleasurable. So you're not missing out, you're just taking a step toward life. So if you're trying to replace some food habits, right? That's my suggestion there, is don't, for example, before I started recording this podcast, I went to Joe and the Juice, if you guys know that chain, Joe and the Juice, and I got this beautiful green juice, which I'm very used to green juices. I've had them for a long, long time, so it's not gross to me. I've gotten accustomed to it. And I had their little healthy-ish version of carrot cake, which was phenomenal, right? But that's different from the Frappuccinos I used to have back in the day. I feel amazing right now. And back at the end of college, I would feel exhausted and bloated and miserable after one of those. No offense to Starbucks. I love Starbucks. I just order different things now, okay? So if that's what you're switching, if it's a food thing, think of something that's pleasurable but gives life rather than taking it, rather than trying to go this all or nothing super strict route, okay? But here's what I also want you to remember. You have a lot more senses than just taste. Okay? Visual beauty is huge. What are you smelling? Can you light a candle? Can you start wearing perfume every day? Can you pick a hair product that smells really good so your hair smells really good all day, right? Can you get your nails done or paint your own nails? Can you wear a watch or a bracelet that you love to look at? Can you have music in your headphones when you're at work, when you're driving on your way? Can you talk to people who are a little more positive, right? Where can you bring up the pure pleasure quotient in all of your other senses so that your body and your spirit and your mind and your soul don't feel this deficit of beauty and joy and therefore hope, which then leads you to give up and turn to a quick fix that's your old go-to, that then takes away more life, which then takes away more hope, which gives you that self-defeating cycle of I always do this, and this is just the kind of person that I am, and I'm never going to be able to get better. I'm never going to be one of them. I'm never going to be like her. My life's never going to be like that, so why should I bother? That's the self-defeating cycle that we are going to cut with hope and with beautiful, pure pleasure. Now this summer, I'm going to be talking about beauty inwardly, externally, both externally on our own selves and externally in the world around us. But I just want you to start noticing if this is speaking to you, if this sounds like something that could help you, right? Because I am not a person who likes to follow other people's rules, right? I don't like to be told what to do. I used to try this and it never worked. And finally, I just thought, okay, I've got to figure out how to hack how I'm already naturally oriented. And that has worked so well for me. So if this is speaking to you, I encourage you as you go through your day, notice what you love. What do you love? Like for me, when I am working at a co-working space, one of the things I love is walking there, unless it's raining, then that's not that fun. Although sometimes it can be fun as long as I didn't just wash my hair, right? I love like a walk in the mornings where there's people and there's a little bit of bustling and there's still the morning light and there's the energy and the air and even, some horns honking, maybe not too many, some dogs, like it's life-giving, right? And then when I show up in this space, I sit down and I have a cup of tea or I have a cup of coffee and I put in either music, or they play great music here, or I have a podcast in my headphones and I kind of do some morning pages, just gathering my thoughts, planning my day, feeling into the energy that I'm in and setting the intention for the day that I want to have. All of that is so pleasurable to me. It doesn't even occur to me, wow, this day sucks. I think I'll just stop at, the pastry shop and get a bag of 2 or 3 or 4, of my favorite pastries. And I'll just kind of try to pace them throughout the day, except I'll probably get through 2.5 before 10 a.m. And then I'll feel awful. And then I'll vow to do better. But then, you guys know, hunger hormones, your insulin's going to spike and then crash. You're going to want it again, right? Because it's life-taking, not life-giving. But because I've set up my day to incorporate so many other pure pleasures, including taste, but with all of my other senses too, there's no moment that I really dread. And even when I have to face an activity that I don't particularly enjoy, I'm even more intentional then about how can I surround this with as much pure pleasure as possible. Am I in an outfit that makes me feel great? Do I have my favorite tea with me? Is it possible to play music or listen to a podcast while I have to deal with this email or whatever it is, right? Pure pleasures give us life, give us hope, give us a sense that I can do this. There's a reason to bother to try to be my best, and that creates the positive cycle of becoming the person you already want to be without even noticing that it's happening. And then you look up and you realize that because you've been making these tiny little shifts with your feet going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, but headed more in a new direction bit by bit, you've created a day that you no longer want to escape from. You have hope that you can do this. You're amazing. And your life is only going to get better. So of course you're going to take great care of your body because life is awesome and it's about to get even more exciting. So we want to be ready for that. So with all of this newfound confidence and self-worth and self-respect and joy and hope for life, of course we're going to make life-giving choices. Of course we're going to choose something that brings us closer to where we want to be rather than saying, I just don't see a point. So I want you guys to, in any area of your life that you're working to improve, but even the seemingly unrelated one of body care, turn to your first tool in your toolbox, your first weapon in your arsenal, however you want to phrase it, your first flower in your garden, if you are a very peace-loving person like I am, it's hope. It's beginning to believe again that there's a reason to bother to try, and you can absolutely do this. And it's only going to get better from here. And then the fuel that you add on top of that newfound or rebirthed hope is pure pleasures that escort you through your day toward life rather than away from it. I hope this has been helpful to you guys. This changed my life. And because I have established myself so firmly in these two principles of persistent hope and pure pleasure, it's very difficult to bring me down. And I can face a lot of heavy things without giving up on bothering anymore because I've practiced this for so many years. And I would so love you to experience that same powerful, beautiful, joyful, strong hope in yourself, in life, and in what God has next for you. And when you have a body that you're lovingly caring for, that beautiful cycle of self-love, self-honor, showing up for yourself, your body shows up for you, you have your own back, you know how to be there for yourself, which then allows you to be there for others in more effective, beautiful, loving, sincere, authentic ways. Life gets good, guys. Even when it's hard, it stays good. I hope this has been helpful. I will talk to you guys next week. Enjoy what I hope is for you beautiful spring weather, and I'll see you soon. What if you could wake up every day loving your body? What if you could feel the majesty of what God created in you, delight in it, and serve the world with it in a greater way than you ever imagined? What if you had incredible wellness, inside and out, and it wasn't hard to maintain, boring, stressful, or restrictive? It was a huge source of joy and delight, freeing and life-giving. The weight fell off, your body filled with strength, your skin glowed, and your face lit up with peace and joy. There was no more insecurity, looking to the side, comparing yourself, doubting your worth and lovability, and abusing yourself when you felt like you didn't measure up. What would this look like? What would it take? That's exactly what I asked myself when I was in that place. My name is Jackie, and over the last 10 years, I've slowly figured it out and pieced it together. What does it take? Knowing God intimately and receiving His love for you every day. Knowing His word about your body, how He wants you to think of it and care for it, and then living this out in a way that fits in with your life. Sorting through all the messages in culture, and the real messages our hearts and bodies are trying to send us through our reactions to culture. Learning how to eat, move, rest, and de-stress in a way that's easy, peaceful, loving, and fun. Creating a lifestyle structure that supports this amazing new wellness and freedom and gets you excited about getting up every day and empowered all day long to live out your fullest wellness for a lifetime. That's what it looks like. But how do you make it work for you? Can I tell you a secret? When you accept the calling God has over your body, your love for it will skyrocket. You will start to be amazed every day by what it's capable of, physically and as an inspiration to others and as a testament to the gospel. You will know and desire to care for it in the best way, in a way that's gospel-centric and honors God instead of being a personal obsession, matter of pride, or stressor. In fact, not caring for your body in the best and biblical ways won't be appealing anymore. And as you rise into all the wellness you were meant to have, you'll be a beacon of strength and hope to those around you. You'll feel closer to and more adored by God than you ever have. And you will drop the chains of insecurity, despair, and loathing toward your body and step into the energy, time, focus, and fearlessness that have been waiting for you to live out your greatest callings. Learn to love your body beautiful in a way that starts in the center of your soul and radiates outward into your health, your energy, your mood, your power and passion, your beautiful smile, and into the lives of all those you're called to serve. It's time to take back your body, to learn to love it, care for it, release its power, and serve God through it on an even higher level. So let's go, gorgeous. Join me and jump into body stewardship. I can't wait to meet you inside and help you discover the freedom that's been waiting for you.